as a process of stimulating the natural creation of the brain's development. And how does an enriched environment that stimulates brain enhancement in the cortex contribute to the creation of the brain? Given that an enriched environment, that is, an environment that provides proper stimuli for brain development, leads to both a qualitative and quantitative change in the cerebral cortex, we can easily view this as a sort of mechanically induced evolution of the brain. Studies conducted by scientists on a variety of lab rats indicated that these rats, when placed in these enriched environments that were designed to give adequate stimulation in the areas considered beneficial to the desired regions of the brain, the cortex in the rats was noted to undergo tangible qualitative and quantitative change. What do the changes the rats underwent in terms of cortex growth and improvement signify as they relate to the evolution of the mammalian brain? The importance of this qualitative and quantitative change in the cortex as a result of environmental enrichment can be seen when we consider a few facts about the cerebral cortex, also sometimes called the neocortex. Whatever evolution means, perhaps its most tangible result is the cortex. It is the end result of the tendency of creatures to develop their nervous systems as they increase in complexity. In the case of vertebrates, this has meant a steady shift to the top or uppermost part of the nervous system. In the earliest vertebrates, this meant a swelling of nervous tissue at the top of the spinal cord. As creatures evolved, this swelling increased in complexity, including first a hindbrain, then a midbrain or limbic brain, then a forebrain. Only in higher mammals does there develop a new evolutionary structure, the cerebral cortex, which gains in size and importance as we go up the evolutionary ladder. What does this mean as it relates to the significance of the cortex and its possible functions in brain enhancement? The cortex is, then, in evolutionary terms, something very new, very different. It is the seat of our so-called higher functions. These functions include the detection of all the features of our sensory systems, as well as the learning and association of new features and the learning of all kinds. It also includes memory and recall of sequences of events that happened in our pasts, the patterning of elaborate programs of voluntary muscle actions, and the formation and comprehension of speech. It includes, too, creativity and appreciation in all manners of art and of course all sensations and consciousness. All right, but how does this relate to brain enhancement itself? Therefore, when we consider the importance of the cortex to everything that makes us human, the implications of the studies of scientists who have focused on the expansory capabilities of the cortex are truly staggering. Those studies clearly indicate that environmental enrichment, that is, the stimulation or sensory experience, leads to enlargement and other structural changes in the cortex. Since the cortex is the seat of intelligence, then it makes sense to conclude that environmental enrichment, stimulation, or sensory experience then leads to the increased intelligence of the subject. Intelligence is of course by nature a slippery concept. After all, an animal may prove to be considered intelligent when it is tested for one quality and much less intelligent when it is tested for another. However, there are still clear indications that there is a strong connection between sensory stimulation and intelligence. Thus, it makes sense to conclude that by providing similar stimuli to human subjects it is possible to produce those same favorable results in the cortex as were observed in the lab rats. The debate surrounding the use of machinery as it applies to brain enhancement. What are the implications of the discoveries surrounding the application of machinery for the purposes of brain enhancement? The implications of discoveries made over the past 2 decades in the field of machine-driven brain enhancement should be quite clear. The brain is a much more powerful, capable and complex organ than was ever previously imagined. What we may think of as normal intelligence is likely a mere pale shadow of the brain's actual powers and faculties of its full potential. It's rather, as if we have all been given a beautiful sports car in which we have been doing little more than cruising around in first gear, never aware that there was so much more it could do for us. The brain capabilities discovered in the past 20 years suggest that there are ways the brain can be shifted into far higher gears, that brain functioning can be substantially improved, provided that the brain can receive the right type of stimulation. There is increasing evidence that this essential brain stimulation can be supplied by mechanical devices of varying sorts. What is the history of the use of mechanical devices for brain enhancement? In the past, the only accepted uses of machines in conjunction with the human brain have been for diagnostic or therapeutic purposes. There is documented use of one procedure known as electroencephalographs, by which researchers could analyze brain waves in search of potential epilepsy or tumors. Scientists also used electrical brain stimulation to alleviate pain and CAT scans to get accurate images of what was happening inside the brain. Today, however, more and more scientists are becoming interested in using machines not only with a view to helping sick people get better, but also to help normal, healthy people increase their innate abilities to think, learn, remember, imagine and create. How do scientists respond to the inevitable skeptics of the idea of brain enhancement by machine? Can a machine really make a person smarter or be used to enhance people's mental functioning? In fact, a wide number of machines are being used in order to stimulate the brain, and many researchers have put much time and effort into evaluating the available scientific evidence of these machines' purported influence on people's mental abilities. Even skeptics should be able to see that the evidence includes a number of studies showing that the first experimental users of various mind machines responded with dramatic improvements. The improvements were seen in IQ, neuro-efficiency quotient, long-term memory, serial memory, attention, reaction time, recall, sensory acuity, hemispheric synchronization, brain wave amplitude and various other capacities, depending on the type of machine being used and its intended purpose. What are the potential implications of these machines? What is the potential implication held by these studies and their effect on the field of brain enhancement? If any of these instruments could in fact reliably and consistently produce increases in brain functioning across the range of abilities mentioned above, then it would naturally become a revolutionary device, perhaps even one of the most significant devices produced since the invention of writing. There are a wide variety of machines now out there, and most of them have in some way or another led to scientists' new, revised and greatly expanded visions of the brain as an enormous and indeed virtually untapped reservoir of powers and skills. By considering the full potential such machinery could have on the general abilities of humans as a race, it is certainly easy to understand why these discoveries have inspired many scientists and inventors to design and build any number of machines meant to tap into those concealed reserves and trigger the usually dormant mental powers. The studies are steadily showing that music is the answer.